King of Assyria. What an exciting story. This is one of my favorite stories. Of course, I do say that about a lot of stories. Hezekiah was king of Judah when Nineveh came and put a siege on Samaria in Israel. Of course, that lasted for 3 years. So Hezekiah was from his 3rd year of reign till his 6th year of reign. So he watched the whole thing. He saw what they did. Then Assyria then went down into the valley area, down in the coastal plains, which is at the bottom of the mountains. And they were taking over a lot of the area down around the Philistines. Now, Judah really wasn't as much of a problem to Nineveh because Ahaz had been paying the tribute tax. He was the one that was on the side of Assyria. So everything was fine. And so when Hezekiah took over, he inherited that. But suddenly, Assyria has some problems back home, and so they pull back temporarily. And because of these problems, a lot of people thought, finally, Assyria is on the decline. They are going to go away now. They are going, like many, they've been going for so many years, are finally starting to rot on the inside. And so a lot of the nations rebelled and stopped paying taxes, including Hezekiah. Isaiah recommended that he not rock the boat here. Isaiah recommended that he just let everything alone. But Hezekiah didn't listen. And like all the other nations, he stopped paying the taxes. Well, he knew that Assyria could come back, and if they did, he'd be in trouble. He had already been building up Jerusalem. Now, with this extra tax money that he wasn't paying to Nineveh, he then started to build his forces in great earnest. He did many things. First of all, he put a bigger wall around Jerusalem, including all of the western part, doubled the size of the city. Also, their main water source was outside the walls on the east side. And he decided to do something he's still known for today. He contracted men to build a tunnel through the bedrock of the city of David, going from those springs underneath and going straight across into the new section of his city. Over 1,700 feet of tunnel. He had men on both sides tunneling towards one another. Except it wasn't that simple. It wasn't like this. It was in an S shape. And for some reason it was an S shape, and no one to this day knows how they did that, because they tunneled it and then they met and it was complete. I've walked through those tunnels. It is not much wider than what I am, and definitely not as tall as I am in most places. It's tall in a few. And the water to this day still runs through that tunnel. In this way, there was no water outside the walls for the Assyrian army. Now it was being tunneled to inside the city. He then built up all the cities of Judah, especially Lachish. And Lachish is the second largest city in Judah, and he fortified that city. They put a second wall around it and big gates, and built his own palace there, and he was ready to go to battle there as well. Well, all this was too little. He was up against a world power. And even though what he did was magnificent, and he's known for it today, compared to what Assyria can do, it was nothing. Isaiah was concerned that he was trusting these. He wasn't opposed to these things being done, but he was trusting that these things would protect him, and he wasn't trusting the Lord. So when this story happens, Assyria comes back into the coastal plains in full force. Sennacherib was the head of the army. He was the king. What he did, Jerusalem's up on the top of the mountains, and there's these valleys that go down to the coastal plains in the Judean hill country. And there's cities in each of these valleys. Assyria came and took each of these cities, thus controlling the valleys leading up to Jerusalem. And then he put a siege on Lachish. Huge siege, built a ramp. I've literally been on that ramp. I've seen those gates. They put in the siege, they conquered Lachish. And that's from there is when the commander takes the army to Jerusalem, and this story starts at that point. It's interesting that after the story is done, the king goes back. Before he's killed, he was actually making this recorded history on stone. And he talks about Judah. He talks about the great way that he conquered Hezekiah. But he's talking about Lachish, not Jerusalem, and how he conquered it, and how he humbled Hezekiah. Well, in truth, Hezekiah was humbled. He did then start paying tribute to Assyria once again, kind of with agreement. You leave us alone, we'll leave you alone, we will pay our tribute. And that's how the story goes. Assyria continues to work that coastal plain, working their way down to Egypt, finally conquers Egypt. But all the time, there's Judah, basically unconquered, still paying tribute, but still there. What a great story. I trust you like these details. Come back next week when we continue on with one more story about Hezekiah. We'll see you next week.